My husband told me I was not invited to his celebration dinner, then used my credit card to pay for the entire reception. Not our anniversary dinner. Not a family gathering. Not a business event I agreed to sponsor. His reception. For him, for his new company, for his investors, for his mother, for his friends, and for Cassandra Vale, the woman standing beside him in every photo like she had earned the seat I had spent 12 years paying for. My name is Naomi Bennett Cole. That was still my name that night. I was 39 years old, sitting alone in my kitchen at 7:18 p.m., wearing the navy dress I had bought for the reception before Adrian looked me in the eye and said, "You're not invited." He said it that morning while fixing his cufflinks in our bedroom mirror, calmly, like he was telling me the weather. I had been standing by the closet, holding my earrings, trying not to show how excited I was. For months, Adrian had talked about this reception. Cole Medical Logistics had landed a major investor partnership. The event was supposed to celebrate the deal, thank supporters, and introduce the next chapter of his company. His company. That was what people called it now. But in the beginning, it had been our kitchen table, our savings, my spreadsheets, my late nights, my hospital contacts, my personal credit line, my voice reminding him to read contracts before signing them, my hands correcting proposals while he slept, my money covering payroll when he cried and said one missed pay period would ruin him. But by the time the company looked successful enough for photographers, I had become background, support, wife, household stability, a quiet figure in the story men told when they wanted applause without footnotes. Still, I had bought the dress, because some part of me still believed that when the big night came, Adrian would remember. He would look across the room and say, "Naomi stood with me when this was nothing." He would hold my hand. He would introduce me properly. He would let the people clapping for him see the woman who helped build the stage. Instead, he looked at me through the mirror and said, "You're not invited tonight." I froze. What? He adjusted his sleeve. "It's not personal." That meant it was very personal. "It's a focused investor event," he said. "The guest list is tight." "The guest list is tight?" He sighed like I was making him explain something simple. "Naomi, this is business." "I know. I helped build the business." His jaw tightened. "Not tonight." Those two words landed harder than I expected. Not tonight. As if my years of work could be turned off for one evening so Cassandra could stand in better light. I asked the question even though I already knew the answer. "Is Cassandra going?" He paused for half a second. "Yes." I stared at him. "But I'm not. She's part of the investor relations team." "And I'm what?" He turned from the mirror. "Tired." I blinked. "Tired?" "Yes. You've been tense lately, questioning everything, making meetings uncomfortable. Tonight needs to feel forward-looking, not complicated." Complicated. That was what I became when I remembered too much. I said, "Adrian, I am your wife." He looked at me then with a kind of impatience that felt older than the conversation. And sometimes that means trusting me when I know what's best for the business. No apology. No tenderness. No shame. Just the clean confidence of a man who had used my strength long enough to forget it belonged to a person. So I stayed home. Not because I agreed. Because humiliation sometimes makes your body heavy before anger can find its shoes. Adrian left at 5:30 p.m. Cassandra's name lit up on his phone twice while he was still in the driveway. I watched from the window as he drove away in the car I helped finance. Then I went upstairs, took off the navy dress, folded it carefully, and put on an old sweater. For the next hour, I sat in the kitchen, trying to convince myself I was not broken. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Something made me answer. "Hello?" A calm male voice said, "Good evening. Am I speaking with Mrs. Naomi Bennett Cole?" "Yes." "This is Daniel, from Meridian Trust Bank Fraud Prevention. I'm calling to verify a charge attempt on your Sapphire Reserve business card ending in 4421. My body went still. What charge? A hospitality transaction at the Grand Meridian Hotel for $87,640. The room became silent around me. Even the refrigerator hum seemed to disappear. I looked at the clock. 7:18 p.m. The reception had started 18 minutes earlier. I said, "Can you repeat the amount?" $87,640. My hand tightened around the phone. What is the merchant description? Grand Meridian Hotel Events and Catering. I closed my eyes. Adrian. The reception. My card. The card I kept for approved business expenses under Bennett ClearPath. Not for Adrian's celebration. Not for Cassandra's stage. Not for a party I was told I could not attend. Daniel continued. The charge was flagged because of amount, merchant category, and recent card activity. Did you authorize this transaction? I breathed once. Twice. Then said, no. Thank you. For your security, we will decline the transaction and temporarily restrict the card. Do you recognize anyone who may have access to the card details? I looked at the empty chair across from me. Adrian had borrowed that card months earlier for a business dinner, saying he would reimburse me. He never returned it physically. I had forgotten because the card was saved digitally in my app, and he said he destroyed the old copy. Another lie. Yes, I said. My husband may have used it. Daniel's voice stayed professional. Would you like us to treat the transaction as unauthorized? I looked down at my old sweater, at my bare ring finger, because I had taken the ring off while washing dishes and never put it back on. At the folded navy dress visible through the laundry room doorway. At the house that suddenly felt less like a marriage and more like a place where evidence had been waiting. Yes, I said, unauthorized. Understood. One moment, Mrs. Cole. A pause. Then Daniel said something that made my blood run colder. There have been 2 earlier authorization attempts at the same hotel today. One for the deposit balance and one for floral and audiovisual upgrades. Both were approved under lower limits. How much? $22,400 and $9,800. My throat tightened. So it was not only the main bill. He had already used the card. Freeze it, I said. We are restricting the card now. No, I said, standing. I mean all cards connected to him. All authorized users. All linked business cards. Freeze anything he can touch. Daniel paused. We can assist with restricting accounts where you are the primary owner. For any joint or business-linked accounts, I recommend you contact your relationship manager immediately. I'm coming to the hotel. Mrs. Cole, we can continue. No, I said. The card was used at a reception I was told I could not attend. I am going to the reception. I ended the call and stood in my kitchen for 1 full minute. My heart was beating hard, but my hands were steady. That was new. I walked upstairs. Put the navy dress back on. Put on the earrings. Put on heels. Took my document folder from the study. Then I called Grace. She answered immediately. What happened? He used my credit card for the reception. There was a short silence. Then Grace said, The reception you're not invited to? Yes. How much? Almost $120,000 total. Grace inhaled. I'm driving. I'm going to the hotel. Do not enter that ballroom without me. I'm already leaving. Naomi. What? Bring the folder. I have it. Good. Tonight we become educational. Before I continue, tell me where you are watching from tonight, and if someone has ever tried to exclude you from the celebration, but include you in the bill, stay with this story, because sometimes the bank calls at the exact moment your dignity is about to walk through the door. The Grand Meridian Hotel looked like a palace when I arrived. Golden lights, valet attendants, tall glass doors, fresh flowers at the entrance. A sign on an easel near the lobby read, Cole Medical Logistics Investor Reception, Grand Ballroom. No mention of me, no Bennett, no founded with support, no special thanks, nothing, just Cole. I stood in the lobby holding my folder and felt a strange calm settle over me. The kind that comes when pain becomes paperwork. The front desk manager smiled. Good evening, ma'am. Are you here for the Cole reception? Yes. Name? Naomi Bennett Cole. Her fingers moved over the tablet, then stopped. Her face changed in the small, trained way hotel staff change when a screen gives them trouble. I'm not seeing your name on the guest list. I almost laughed. Of course. Adrian had removed me so completely that even the hotel door knew I was unwanted. I said, that makes sense. She looked uncomfortable. I'm sorry? I'm Adrian Cole's wife. Her eyes widened. Before she could respond, a man in a black suit approached. Mrs. Cole? Yes. I'm Mr. Alvarez, Hotel Operations Director. May I speak with you privately? Mr. Alvarez. I recognized the name from the bank call notes. Meridian Trust had already contacted the hotel. Good. I followed him to a small office near the lobby. He closed the door gently. Mrs. Cole, we received a call from card services regarding disputed authorization on the event charges. I did not authorize them. He nodded. Understood. For clarity, the event contract lists Adrian Cole as responsible party. However, the payment method provided for multiple charges appears to be a card under your name and your company profile. My company profile? He slid a document across the desk. There it was. Bennett ClearPath Solutions. Billing contact, Naomi Bennett Cole. Event sponsor field, Bennett ClearPath Executive Hospitality Support. My chest tightened. Sponsor. He did not invite me, but he made me sponsor. Mr. Alvarez watched my face carefully. Did you authorize sponsorship? No. Did you authorize use of your business card? No. Did you sign this payment authorization? I looked at the signature. It was not mine. It looked close enough to fool someone who had never seen me sign under stress. But it was not mine. No. He nodded. I suspected there may be an issue. The signature does not match the prior file we have from Bennett ClearPath events. That sentence gave me air. You checked? Yes, ma'am. Once the bank called. We also paused further service upgrades pending payment confirmation. Further service upgrades? He sighed. Additional champagne service, premium floral reset, after-party lounge, and a luxury vehicle send-off. Of course. Adrian had told me I was too complicated for the room, then used my card to make the room more impressive for Cassandra. I said, I want the charges reversed if possible, and I want all unpaid services stopped. Mr. Alvarez nodded. We can stop the unpaid portions. Charges already processed will need to go through card dispute and legal review, but we will cooperate fully. Can I enter the ballroom? He hesitated. You are not on the guest list. I know, but if you are the disputed payment source and legal spouse of the event host, I can escort you to speak with Mr. Cole. I recommend we also have security nearby. That would be wise. At that moment, Grace arrived. She entered the office like a storm in heels. Where is he? Mr. Alvarez blinked. I said, this is Grace. Grace looked at him. Friend, CFO, witness, and tonight's emotional support auditor. He nodded slowly. Understood. Grace looked at the documents. Her face became very still. Oh, he used Bennett ClearPath as sponsor? Yes. She smiled. Not happy. Dangerous? Wonderful. Fraud with branding. We called Vivian Hart before going in. Vivian was my attorney, and if Rage could wear glasses and speak in full sentences, it would sound like her. She answered on video. What happened? Grace said. He used Naomi's business card, forged authorization, listed Bennett ClearPath as sponsor, excluded Naomi from the guest list, and is currently drinking champagne on her dime. Vivian closed her eyes for 2 seconds. When she opened them, she looked almost peaceful. That was terrifying. Naomi, she said, say very little. Let the hotel confirm the billing issue. Do not argue about the marriage in the ballroom. Ask direct questions. Do not accuse beyond what documents show. Preserve everything, Grace muttered. I was hoping for a little accusing. Vivian ignored her. I am on my way. I looked at my phone. You're coming? Of course. I have not dressed up to miss this. Mr. Alvarez escorted us through the lobby. The ballroom doors stood open. Music poured out first. Then laughter. Then the smell of expensive food and flowers. The room was full. Investors. Executives. Adrian's friends. His mother Patricia, in a silver dress, laughing near a table of women. Cassandra stood on the stage beside Adrian. She wore a gold gown. My stomach turned. Gold. My money had dressed the room in gold. Adrian held a microphone. He was giving a speech. Of course he was. Cole Medical Logistics, he said, was built on vision, on courage, on refusing to let small minds limit big futures. Grace whispered, "Small minds paid for the lighting." I almost smiled. Adrian continued, "Tonight is not just a celebration of business growth. It is a celebration of the people who believed in me when belief was not easy." Cassandra smiled at him. He turned toward her. "Cassandra, thank you for understanding the future before others could see it." The room clapped. Something inside me cracked. Not because he thanked her, because he used my money to thank her for replacing me. Mr. Alvarez stepped beside a hotel staff member near the stage and spoke quietly. The staff member went pale, then nodded. The music lowered. Adrian paused, annoyed. Then he saw me. His face changed. The microphone remained in his hand. For one terrible second, we simply looked at each other across the room. Me, the uninvited wife. Him, the celebrated husband. Cassandra followed his gaze. Her smile disappeared. Patricia saw me next. She stood so quickly her chair moved. Adrian forced a laugh into the microphone. "Naomi, this is unexpected." The room turned. Whispers spread. Grace stepped beside me. Mr. Alvarez spoke before I could. "Mr. Cole, we need to discuss an urgent billing matter regarding the event." Adrian's smile froze. "Now?" "Yes, sir." Cassandra leaned toward him. "What's going on?" I looked at her. The bill arrived before the apology. People close enough heard. Their faces shifted. Adrian lowered the microphone slightly. "Naomi, don't do this." I walked forward slowly. The room parted. Not dramatically, just enough. I stopped near the stage. "You said I wasn't invited." Adrian's jaw tightened. "This is not the time." But my credit card was invited. Silence. Heavy. Sharp. Beautiful. Someone gasped. Cassandra's eyes widened. Patricia whispered, "Oh Lord." Mr. Alvarez remained professional. "Mr. Cole, the payment method attached to this event has been flagged by the cardholder and issuing bank. Further charges have been suspended pending verification." Adrian's face flushed. "This is a mistake." Grace lifted the document. "Which part? The unauthorized business card? The forged payment authorization? Or the sponsorship listing for Bennett Clearpath?" The room exploded into whispers. Adrian stepped down from the stage. "Naomi, we can discuss this privately." "No," I said. "You made the exclusion public. The bill can be discussed with witnesses." Cassandra turned to Adrian. "You used her card?" He snapped quietly. "Not now." That was answer enough. I looked at Cassandra. "You didn't know?" Her face paled. "I knew Bennett Clearpath was listed as sponsor. Adrian said you approved it." I almost laughed. "I wasn't even invited." Her eyes moved to Adrian. For the first time, I saw something shift in her. Not kindness. Calculation. Fear. Maybe shame. Adrian raised his hands. "Everyone, please. There is a misunderstanding with the hotel." "Enjoy the evening," Mr. Alvarez said. "Sir, unpaid premium services are now canceled. Bar service will continue only under the standard prepaid package. Additional orders require verified payment." A man near the front table said, "Adrian, what does that mean?" Another investor asked, "Was this event not paid?" Grace said softly, "Not by him." Adrian glared at her. "Stay out of this." Grace smiled. "I tried. Your invoice invited me." Patricia rushed toward me. "Naomi, this is humiliating." I looked at her. "Yes, it is." Then stop. No. I was humiliated this morning when your son told me I wasn't invited to a reception he put on my card. Tonight, he can share. Her eyes filled with angry tears. You are still his wife. And not his wallet. The whole room heard that. Good. Vivian arrived then. Perfect timing. She entered through the ballroom doors in a black suit, calm as a judge and twice as dangerous. She walked to my side and looked at Adrian. Mr. Cole. Adrian muttered, Of course. Vivian held out her hand to Mr. Alvarez. Vivian Hart, counsel for Mrs. Bennett Cole and Bennett ClearPath Solutions. Please preserve all event contracts, payment authorizations, card records, security footage, invoices, email communications, and sponsorship documents. Mr. Alvarez nodded. Already underway. Vivian smiled. I like this hotel. Adrian looked around the room and realized the night had moved out of his control. Investors were whispering. Cassandra had stepped away from him. Patricia was crying. The photographer had lowered his camera, but not before capturing several expressions Adrian would never want preserved. The event did not end immediately. That would have been too clean. Rich people often try to continue pretending while the floor is cracking. But the energy died. The champagne upgrade disappeared. The after-party lounge was canceled. The investor toast became awkward. Several guests left early. 2 investors requested follow-up calls with clarification. One sent his assistant to ask Mr. Alvarez for copies of public event details. Adrian spent the rest of the night moving from table to table, smiling too hard. Cassandra avoided the stage. I did not stay long. I did not need to watch the whole collapse. Sometimes the first crack tells you enough. Before leaving, I walked to the stage. The microphone still sat on its stand. I did not touch it. I only looked at the floral arrangement behind it, the gold lighting, the expensive glassware, and the banner that read, Cole Medical Logistics, a future built on trust. A future built on trust, paid with an unauthorized card. I turned and walked out. Grace followed. Vivian followed. Mr. Alvarez handed me copies of the initial documents before we left. In the lobby, the air felt cooler. I finally breathed. Grace touched my shoulder. You okay? No. Good. Honest. Vivian said, We file tomorrow. Tomorrow? She looked at me. Tonight, you sleep. Tomorrow, we become unpleasant. I almost smiled. But in the car, the tears came. Not quiet tears, deep ones. Because betrayal hurts even when you win the scene. Because being proven right does not erase being unloved. Because I had wanted to attend that reception as his wife, not arrive as evidence. Grace drove me home. I sat in the passenger seat, looking out at the city lights. My phone buzzed again and again. Adrian. Patricia. Unknown numbers. Cassandra. I did not answer. When we reached my house, the navy dress felt heavy on my body. I changed into pajamas, sat at the kitchen table, and opened the folder. The first page was the hotel payment authorization. The second was the card alert. The third was the sponsorship form. Bennett ClearPath Executive Hospitality Support. I stared at that phrase. Executive Hospitality Support. Even betrayal had found a way to call me support. The next morning, Vivian moved fast. Formal dispute with the bank. Notice to the hotel. Preservation letter to Cole Medical Logistics. Legal notice to Adrian's counsel. Fraud report where appropriate. Corporate misuse notice. Card cancellation. Account review. Vendor alerts. Internal memo for Bennett ClearPath stating the company had not sponsored the event. Grace handled the financial cleanup. She found more. Of course she did. Adrian had used my card 3 other times for business hospitality. A private dinner with Cassandra. A luxury car service. A deposit for a weekend strategy retreat I knew nothing about. The total unauthorized use was higher than the reception. Much higher. I felt stupid. Grace shut that down immediately. No, I should have seen it. You saw what he let you see. I manage money for a living. And betrayal from a spouse is designed to get past the systems because it knows where the trust lives. That helped. A little. Adrian came home that afternoon. I had changed the codes, but he still had keys to the front door. Vivian told me not to block legal marital access to the house without process, but Grace and I made sure we were not alone. He walked into the living room, looking exhausted and furious. "How could you do that?" he demanded. I looked at him. "How could I? You embarrassed me in front of investors. You used my card after banning me from the event." He loosened his tie. "It was temporary. My humiliation or the theft?" His face hardened. "Don't use that word." "Which one? Theft?" He flinched. "The card was available. So is a fire exit." "That doesn't mean you host dinner there." Grace laughed from the kitchen. Adrian glared. "Why is she here?" "Because you lie better when I'm alone." He looked like he might say something cruel. Then stopped. Progress from fear, not respect. I asked, "Why did you list Bennett Clearpath as sponsor?" He rubbed his forehead. "Investors respect your company." There it was. Not Naomi. My company. My name had value, so he used it. My presence had questions, so he excluded me. And why wasn't I invited? He exhaled sharply. "Because Cassandra said your energy would create tension." I stared at him. "Cassandra? She knows these rooms." "No, Adrian. She knows how to stand in rooms other women paid to build." His jaw tightened. "You're being cruel." "No, I am being awake." He stepped closer. "Naomi, listen. This deal matters. If investors pull out because of last night, people lose jobs. Do not place employees between you and your choices. You always do this. You make everything moral. No, you made it financial when you used my card." He sat down, suddenly looking smaller. "I was going to reimburse you." "When?" "After the capital closed." "And if it didn't close?" He said nothing. "Exactly." I said, "We're separating." His head snapped up. "No." "Yes." "Over a credit card?" I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because even now he wanted to shrink the wound. "No, Adrian. Over the years of being useful in private and invisible in public, the card only called me with proof." He looked down. For a moment I saw shame. Then ego covered it. "You'll regret this." I stood. "No. I regret buying the dress." The separation began that week. Adrian moved to a hotel first. Then Patricia's guest suite. Then, briefly, Cassandra's apartment. According to gossip, Grace pretended not to enjoy. The bank reversed some charges quickly and investigated others. The hotel cooperated. Mr. Alvarez provided records showing multiple payment authorizations, guest list exclusions, sponsor listings, and communication from Adrian's assistant, who later admitted she believed I had approved everything because Adrian said, "My wife handles the financial side." My wife handles the financial side. True enough to become dangerous. Cassandra called me after 3 days. I did not answer. She sent a message. "Naomi, I did not know you were not invited. I believed Adrian when he said you approved the sponsorship. I am sorry for my part in this." I stared at it, then replied, "You knew he was married. Start there." She did not respond for 2 weeks. Then, through her attorney, she provided communications showing Adrian had told her I was difficult but financially aligned with the event. Difficult, financially aligned. That was what he called me while taking my card. Cassandra separated herself from Adrian's business quickly. Not out of love for me, out of self-preservation. Still, her documents helped. Adrian's investor deal fell apart, not only because of the card, because the card revealed a deeper problem. If a CEO lied about event sponsorship, misused a spouse's company card, and misrepresented payment authority, what else was polished fiction? Investors began reviewing. They found inflated commitments, unclear corporate expenses, personal charges mixed with business hospitality. consultant fees to Cassandra with limited deliverables. Payroll pressure hidden behind optimistic projections. The reception had been meant to announce trust. Instead, it exposed risk. Adrian blamed me publicly for a while. He told people I was bitter, jealous, unstable, trying to ruin him because of Cassandra. Then the hotel documents circulated quietly among the people who mattered. Not online, not viral. Worse, in investor inboxes. Reputation does not always die loudly. Sometimes it dies in forwarded PDFs. Divorce followed. Vivian was ready. She always was. The unauthorized card use became one piece of a much larger pattern. Financial control, misrepresentation, business misuse of marital and separate assets, exclusion from corporate recognition, emotional betrayal. Documentation mattered. Grace built timelines. Vivian built arguments. I built myself back together between meetings. That was the part no one saw. The nights I cried in the navy dress before finally donating it. The mornings I woke up reaching for my ring, then remembered. The anger, the embarrassment, the strange grief of missing a man who had humiliated me. People think betrayal kills love instantly. It does not. Sometimes love dies like a power outage in a large building. One floor at a time. A light goes out here, another there. You keep walking through dark halls, remembering where lamps used to be. Therapy helped. Dr. Elaine Carter, my therapist, asked me one day, what hurt most about the reception? The card. She waited. No, I said. The invitation. She nodded. Say more. He wanted my resources in the room, but not me. There it was. The whole marriage in one sentence. My resources, not me. My labor, not my name. My money, not my presence. My support, not my seat. Dr. Elaine said, you are grieving exclusion from a life you helped build. I cried for the rest of the session. The divorce settlement returned what could be returned financially. Unauthorized charges were resolved. Adrian was assigned responsibility for disputed amounts tied to his event and business misuse. Cole Medical Logistics lost the investor deal and later merged under unfavorable terms with another company. Adrian kept a title for a while, but not control. That hurt his pride more than money. Patricia called once after the settlement. I almost let it go to voicemail, then answered. She said, Naomi, I owe you an apology. I leaned back. For what specifically? She inhaled shakily. For telling you not to embarrass him after he embarrassed you. For knowing you were excluded and saying nothing. For attending that reception while your name paid for parts of it. For treating Cassandra like a guest of honor and you like a problem. That was more honest than I expected. I said, thank you. She cried. I raised Adrian to believe image mattered more than accountability. I said nothing. She continued. I am seeing what that cost. I hope you do. No hug. No reunion. Just a small truth laid on the table. Adrian's apology came much later. Not at the house. Not by phone. Through a letter. Vivian read it first and said, he has discovered specificity. We should mark the calendar. I read it alone. Naomi. I told you that you were not invited because I was afraid of what people would see if you stood in the room. They would see that my story was incomplete without you. I used your card because I still believed your support was mine to access, even when I denied you respect. I am sorry for the reception, the card, Cassandra, the lie, and for making you feel like your money deserved a seat more than you did. Adrian. I cried, then put the letter away. I did not respond. Some apologies confirm the wound. They do not reopen the door. 1 year after the reception, I started the Seat at the Table Fund. Grace came up with the name after saying, you didn't need a seat at his table. You needed to invoice the table. The fund helped women whose labor, money, credit, or business support had been used while they were excluded from recognition, ownership, or decision-making. We helped wives who built companies behind husbands, sisters who funded brothers' businesses, daughters whose credit cards paid family events they were not invited to, mothers whose savings funded adult children who disrespected them, women who were called supportive until they asked for documentation. Vivian taught a workshop called "If you pay, you need paper." Grace taught "Never sponsor your own erasure." Dr. Elaine taught the emotional cost of being useful but unseen. At the first event, I told the story of the reception. I stood on a small stage, not in the navy dress, but in a white suit I bought for myself. I said, "My husband told me I was not invited," then used my credit card. The bank called during the reception, and that call did what years of pleading could not. It showed me the difference between being included and being used. The room went silent. Then a woman in the front row began crying. Another whispered, "That happened to me." Different details. Same wound. A woman paying for a family reunion she was told was not appropriate for her to attend because of a dispute. A wife whose card paid for her husband's launch party where his mistress appeared as partner. A sister who funded a brother's wedding and was seated near the back because his wife did not like her. A daughter whose money bought a retirement celebration where her parents thanked only her brother. The stories poured out. And every story had the same question hidden under it. Why was my money welcome when I was not? We built tools around that question. Before paying, ask, "Am I invited? Am I acknowledged? Did I approve this? Is there documentation? Can I afford this without resentment? Does my presence matter, or only my payment? Will I still be respected if I say no?" Those questions changed lives. Mine included. I became more careful. Not cold. Careful. There is a difference. I still helped people, but I no longer paid for rooms where my dignity had no chair. I no longer let family, partners, business associates, or anyone else use my name to create credibility while shrinking my presence. I no longer accepted behind the scenes when behind the scenes meant hidden. I learned to ask for the guest list before the invoice. That line became Grace's favorite. She put it on a mug. Of course, years passed. The Grand Meridian Hotel invited me back one day, not for Adrian's company, but for a women's leadership dinner hosted by the Seat at the Table Fund. I almost declined. The memory was too sharp. Then Mr. Alvarez called personally. "Mrs. Bennett," he said, using my restored name, "we would be honored to host you properly this time." Properly. That word healed something. So I went. The ballroom looked different. New flowers. Different lighting. No coal banner. No Cassandra in gold. No Adrian holding a microphone. This time, my name was on the program. Naomi Bennett. Founder, Bennett ClearPath Solutions. Founder, the Seat at the Table Fund. I stood near the entrance before the guests arrived and looked at the room. Grace stood beside me. "You okay?" "Yes." "Really?" I smiled. This room owed me a better memory. And tonight I collect. Vivian spoke that night too. Her speech was short. "Never confuse access to your money with access to your consent," she said. "And never let anyone tell you paperwork ruins trust. If trust is real, paperwork simply describes it." People stood. Vivian pretended she hated applause. She did not. During dinner, a young woman approached me. She said she had been helping her boyfriend build a catering business and had been paying vendors on her card, but he never introduced her as partner. "What should I do?" she asked. I looked at her. "Stop paying until your role is written clearly." She nodded slowly. "What if he gets mad?" "Then you will have learned something before the bill gets bigger," she cried. I hugged her. That night, after the event, Mr. Alvarez handed me a small envelope. Inside was a copy of the old disputed authorization form, stamped resolved. Under it, he had placed the new event contract. This one showed Payment authorized by Naomi Bennett. Event host, Naomi Bennett. Sponsor, the Seat at the Table Fund. I cried in the hotel office. Mr. Alvarez politely pretended to check emails. Some men are wise. Adrian eventually faded from my daily life. His company survived in a smaller form, without him at the center. He moved to another city. Cassandra did not marry him. That surprised no one except possibly Adrian. She sent one final message years later after attending a private event where the Seat at the Table Fund was mentioned. Naomi, I think about that reception often. I am sorry for standing in a room you paid for while believing you were the problem. I replied, thank you for saying that. Nothing more. Not every woman who hurts you becomes your enemy forever. But not every apology requires friendship. My life became quieter after all that. Better. I kept building Bennett ClearPath. I built the fund. I built a home where every room knew my name. I dated again, eventually. Slowly. The first time a man invited me to a business dinner and said, you don't need to worry about details. I smiled and said, details are how I know whether to worry. There was no second date. Good. Later, I met Daniel, a school principal with kind eyes and a habit of asking before assuming. On our third date, he invited me to a fundraiser, then sent the full event details, guest list link, ticket receipt, and said, I added you as my guest, but tell me if you'd prefer your own registration. I stared at the message and laughed until I cried. Not because it was romantic in a movie way, because clarity can feel like romance when confusion once cost you a marriage. My husband said, you're not invited, and used my credit card. Then the bank called during the reception. People loved the drama of that moment. The frozen charge, the ballroom silence, the line about my card being invited, the champagne cancellation, the investors whispering, Cassandra stepping back, Patricia crying. Adrian realizing that the woman he excluded had arrived with the bill. I understand. It was dramatic. But the real turning point did not happen in the ballroom. It happened in my kitchen when the bank asked, did you authorize this? And I finally said no. No to the charge. No to the lie. No to being used as invisible support. No to paying for my own erasure. No to a marriage where my money had more access than my voice. If you are listening and someone is using your card, your credit, your name, your labor, your house, your company, or your kindness while keeping you out of the room, hear me clearly. Stop paying. Stop sponsoring. Stop covering. Stop believing that being needed now means you will be honored later. Later is often where users store promises they never plan to keep. Ask for the invoice. Ask for the guest list. Ask for the contract. Ask why your name is on the bill but not on the program. Ask why your card is welcome when your body is not. And if the answer insults your dignity, call the bank. Freeze the card. Save the documents. Bring Grace. Bring Vivian. Bring whoever helps you remember that you are not embarrassing the person who stole from you. You are exposing the theft. Today, I keep the resolved authorization form framed in my office. Not because I enjoy remembering pain, because it reminds me that one phone call can become a doorway. Under the frame, Grace placed a small label. The night the card got invited first. I told her it was too much. She said, so was the reception. She won. My name is Naomi Bennett. I was not invited, but my credit card was. So I walked into the ballroom, declined the lie, canceled the charge, and took back the seat I should never have had to ask for.